I'm Paco, and Hi, I'm Paco, and you're watching Bad Witch Books. Guys, today I am going to be filming my, drumroll please, top 10 books of 2024. Usually on the first Friday of the month, I film my monthly wrap-up for the previous month, but I thought the first Friday video of the year, it would be fun if I did my top 10 books instead of doing it later in the month, so when it doesn't feel as special. I know everybody's posting theirs right now, so I thought it fit the vibe more to do top 10 books of the year. So, are these books in any particular order? Kind of, but not like set in stone. I will say number one is number one. So, as much as we go there. So yeah, I read about 107 books this year, which is not as much as I wanted to, because I had a really bad slumps, but I still pulled through and read at least 107, which is really good, in my opinion. So, let's get to it. At number 10, we have Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. This kid also honestly shares spots with One Dark Window, because I read both books this year. But One Dark Window is a duology series about our girl Elizabeth Spindle, who, in this world, people get sick, and if you survive this sickness, you get a magic that slowly kills you, and the people with this magic are outlawed. The only magic that's allowed in the kingdom are these magic set of cards. And Elizabeth likes magic she got from getting sick, even though she was able to kind of like hide it from everybody. She has this like dark presence in her head, this voice. And honestly, that is what I love the most about this book, is the relationship between Elizabeth and the monster in her head. I really like that dynamic, and I think that I really like that as a like trope of like another character in the head. I think it's fun. I thought that this was a perfect duology. I also knocked out the Divine Rivals duology, Letters of Enchantment, I think is what that duology is called as well. So, like, around the same time, and this duology outshone it for me. It's gothic, it's atmospheric, I loved it. The romance was really cute, but I think the atmosphere was perfect. I read it in the fall, love spooky season, so I think the characters were fun. I really enjoyed this. Am I going to be throwing books? Maybe. The next book I have is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Shogun Mandala. I think I said her name right. Probably not. I am a failure. But this book follows Mika Moon, who she is a witch, and she's a part of this coven that they don't meet regularly. They only like meet once every couple months, and they're told to be very quiet and secretive. You're not supposed to be around other witches, and you're not supposed to talk about, for like first rule of being a witch is you don't tell people you're a witch. And so she's kind of lived a very isolated life, because apparently there's this curse that is set up in the world where if a witch is to have a child, then she will die shortly after. Like, every witch becomes an orphan, basically. And if that child is a witch, the witch dies. And so she's raised by this other witch, but it's very like she doesn't raise her as much as she has people watch her. So she's very lonely, isolated life, and she's in her 30s, I think. And one day she is found by these people that are like, hey, we kind of know you're a witch. We need your help. We have these little kid witches that we need to train them to use their magic, and they need a teacher. And even though it's kind of against the rules, she decides to do it. It's this very cute, cozy fantasy. The found family dynamic is really precious. I really enjoyed it. The kids were adorable, and the romance was cute. I overall had a really good time. I listened to this in one sitting on an airplane. And this is just like a perfect, nice, like one and done, really good book. I still think about it. That is one of the requirements for it to be on my top 10 list, is if after I've read it, if I'm still thinking about you, then yeah, you're that girl. So the next book is Son of Blood and Ruin by Marlise Lares. This book follows Lorena, who is the princess of Mexico, and it is during the 1700s. This is the forming of New Spain. People have been conquered, and she's a princess, but she is also indigenous. Her mother was indigenous of the people of Mexico. And while day, she is this like pampered princess who doesn't want to get her hands dirty or whatever. At night, she is secretly Pantera, a powerful sorceress, mass vigilante who tries to stop corruption. And I really enjoyed this book. It was fun to see an epic fantasy set in Mexico. And the character, I liked Lorena as a character. I liked her exploration of who she is and what she is as being someone who has, not only is she, of course, like this indigenous woman, but she also has to like come to terms with the fact that she is, her father was Spanish Lord. And so she has to come to terms with that, which I like enjoyed that perspective she had on that. And I really enjoyed this. That was really good coming of age story for her. I'm excited to see where the series goes. The action was great and the magic was fun. The romance was okay, but like for me, it was the main character that she was really fun. I love a sassy female main character, and that's what we got with Lorena. Or La Pantera. The next book was my first 5-star of the year, and that was Her Radiant Curse by Elizabeth Lim. I love Elizabeth Lim. If she writes it, I'm going to read it. So this book is a prequel to Six Crimson Cranes, and this follows a character from that book. So I don't really want to go too much in depth of like who it follows, but I really enjoyed this world. This has a Helen of Troy kind of inspired fantasy. It's like Helen of Troy, a little bit of Beauty and the Beast vibes. One sister must fall for the other to rise. If you know, you know who this is about. And she is my favorite kind of character in the Six Crimson Cranes duology. And learning her backstory was really great. Learning what made her the character she is in Six Crimson Cranes was great. Like I said, this was my first 5-star of the read. I had a great time. I love the whimsy, the type of whimsy that Elizabeth Lim has in her world and her writing. It is very fairy tale-esque, but it still makes sense. And it still has a plot, which I love. And the plot isn't like, where did the plot go? We lost the plot. So I really enjoyed that. I'm excited to read anything Elizabeth Lim writes. This is my 3rd novel I've read by her that I've utterly enjoyed. The next book I have is Canti Contigo by Johnny Garcia Villa. So this is a contemporary novel, and this follows Rafael Alvarez, who he's the shining star of his school's mariachi team. He is a kind of legacy, because his grandfather, I believe, started it, and his family is all about it, and he is the shining star of his school. But his grandfather dies, and then shortly after, like the next school year, his family moves, and he has to go to this new school where he's not the shining star. He is actually told he has to like co-lead the group. He thought he was gonna come in and like be the greatest leader, like be given all the shit, and he has to co-lead it with a boy named it's been a minute since I read this. Give me a second. Ray. And their dynamic is really, and of course, drama ensues. And they have to, they start having feelings, because on the last day that Raphael saw his grandfather, this is all in the beginning of the book and in the description, so it's not a spoiler. Last day he saw his grandfather at this mariachi competition at the party after he made out with Ray. And then like a year, the summer after the summer, he realizes, oh shit, I have to work with this boy, I kind of think it's hot. And even though I'm number one, and they think I shouldn't be number one. And Raphael is the biggest Leo of all Leos there are. Just energy, and it's fun to see Raphael have to kind of like go against his, first he's fighting grief. And he is like fighting the grief over losing his grandfather, and coming to terms with it, and also coming to terms with all the expectations that he has placed on himself. And it is just really great. I enjoyed this. I love anything Johnny Garcia Villa writes. One of my favorite authors. I think this is my 2nd favorite novel of their 3. So I really enjoyed this. It's got a tiny bit of magical realism in it. Not a lot, but there is like a trinkle of it in here. And I really enjoyed it. And like, if you like mariachi, if you like rivals to lovers, if you like trans side character, like trans rep, all of it is in here. And I do like the discussion they have of like the toxicity within a machismo culture and stuff, and like how that also plays into mariachi. Greatly enjoyed this book. The next book I have is The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. Another author that, if they write it, I'm going to read it. You'll notice a trend here. A lot of the authors on here is if they write it, I'm going to read it. So this book follows Amina Al-Sarafi, who was the best pirate of the seas, but she's been retired for a couple years now. And the mother of one of her old, like, crewmates comes to her and is like, hey, my granddaughter, the daughter of your crewman who died mysteriously, maybe because of you, is missing. And you need to find her, or I'm going to tell all your enemies where you've been hiding these last couple years. And so she has to get the gang back together, and they have to go find this missing child. And I really enjoyed this. I loved Amina as a main character. It is awesome to see a older woman in fantasy. She is like late 50s, I think, or in her 50s, I believe. And she is very tired of everything, like just fed up with everybody's bullshit. But I really enjoyed this. This does take place in the same world as the David trilogy, and I love the David trilogy, so any chance we get just an inkling back there, I'm here for it. But I really enjoyed it. Amina Al-Sarafi's gang is awesome. Amina herself is a great character, and I'm very excited to see more of what happens. But yeah, this was a great read. So now we are on to my top 4. These are the top 4. The others could be kind of like, they could go anywhere between 10 and 5. But these 4 are the top 4. So, we have, for number 4, Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Haro. This book follows 3 sisters in 1893 Salem who have discovered and are trying to bring back witchcraft to fight for women's rights. And I really enjoyed this. I like the look that Alex E. Haro took a look at witches and fiction and fairy tales and turned it on. I thought it was really interesting that she had each of the sisters kind of represent the mother maiden crone, and they were all a different stereotypical witch. And if you are a fan of witches, you'll eat this up. I was eating this up. The atmosphere, chef's kiss. The writing, chef's kiss. I really enjoyed this. This is going to be an all-time favorite. I just ate this up. This was my favorite of the witchy pick challenges I read. You noticed I had 2 of the witchy reads in here, but this was number 1. This beat all of the others. This was the champion. Lightning. But really enjoyed it. Loved it so much. The characters were fun. I think my favorite was Beatrice, who represented the mother of the mother maiden crone aspect. And I just really loved these book. It was fun. It was great. It was insightful. And it is a long one, but I read it really quickly. So, book number 3 was Evocation by Ebsty Gibson. I read, last year was R.F. Kuang, was the author of the year for me. This year was going to be, I had mentally put in my head that this is going to be the year of Olivia Blake, where I was going to read a lot more Olivia Blake books. Turns out, a bitch didn't. Failed. I read maybe 2. So yeah, that didn't work out. But Ebsty Gibson came out of nowhere. In the middle of the night, struck by Ebsty Gibson, not only did I read Evocation, I also read A Dowry of Blood and Education and Malice all this year, the 3 books. I believe those are 3 books out already by Ebsty Gibson, and I fell in love. New author by author. This year, author award, in my mind, goes to Ebsty Gibson, and Evocation was my favorite of the 3 that I read. So Evocation follows David Arscrofi, who is a medium. He's a prodigy medium, actually, very powerful. And he is vying for leadership of this cult he's in. Turns out the other cult member is his boyfriend, who he may or may not still have feelings for. And also, not only that, but he is also kind of being haunted by a demon. And the only people he can go to is his ex-boyfriend and his ex-boyfriend's current wife, and shit happens. And this is a book I would say if you are a character reader, oh, you're gonna eat this up. If you're a character like focused person, if you're a character over plot and you like messy drama, you're gonna eat this book up. If you care for the plot, you might not care for it as much. Like if you want like shit to happen, but if you want messy character interactions, oh, I was fed. I love this so much. I love a mezzo magic, like esoteric magic system that was had in here where it felt very just like natural and kind of like how magic would work or quote unquote work in this world. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed our main characters, David and Reese, were hot as their tension and romantic stuff was hot as fuck. I loved our witch. What's her name? I forget her name, the wife, but I loved her. She was my favorite character. And with Thruple, I love this. Polyamory. Okay, I'm here for it. If every love triangle should be a polyamory. This is how I believe, how I want to go into the new year. But yeah, Evocation was number 3. Number 2 might shock a lot of people. But in this year, 2024, because it is New Year's Eve when I'm filming this, I was given 2 arcs. And they were two of my most anticipated arcs. I was given, and one arc, thank God, Princess MVP was able to get me. And the other arc, I helped the author do a cover reveal, and I was able to get the E-arc. I love both these books. You're gonna be surprised. I don't know. You wouldn't be surprised if you know me, because I keep talking about it, and I'm forcing everybody I know to read it. And then the other one, you would be just surprised in the order. But Celestial Monsters is number 2. My second favorite read of the year. I'm surprised that Aiden Thomas is not number 1. I love this. This book was so good. I'm not saying this book was any bad or less than I thought it was going to be, because Theo and... Why is my mind blanking on the names? Aurelio, my children. My son. Aurelio is my son. Mama Lumeres, we're fighting. I'll fight a fire goddess in the streets. I'll bring a chair. I'll bring a crowbar. I'll bring fire hydrant. But I love this book so much. This is the sequel to the Sunbear Trials, and this has to basically a road trip to save the world. That's all I really want to say. I got to read the E-arc of it, and I'm so thankful that I was able to E-arc of it. And I still think about this book to this day. I love the dynamic. I love our character interactions. I love getting to see more of this awesome world that was made. Hoping that there's more. And I just love this. Like, this was perfect. I have no notes. Besides the fact that me and Lumeris are fighting one day, one way, some way, somehow. I will find a way to fight a fire goddess. But will I get my ass singed? Probably. But I'm going down swinging. So good. 5 stars. 5 stars. Sorry you're gonna hear about me just gush. Okay. Number 1. If you have not been around me for the last couple months, then you might not know who this book is, what this book is. If you've been around me for any chance I get to talk about this book, I have been in love. I got to read the E-arc back in May, I believe, and I am not an e-reader like that. I mainly use my e-books are like Kindle Unlimited romances where I don't gotta put a lot of pressure into. I do not like reading my fantasies on the Kindle. Okay? I just don't. I don't know why. I don't like reading them like that. But this book, I was running to the bathroom at work, being like, I have to go to the bathroom. I ate this book up, and if you do not know, it is Cruel Thirst by Angela Montoya. I was giggling, I was kicking my feet, I was punching demons reading this book. It was so good. If you do not know, this book follows Carolina Fuentes, who is a wannabe vampire huntress. Her family are vampire hunters, but they think that she is too soft and pretty, that she shouldn't be the vampire, leave it to the boys. And she's like, fuck that. I want to be a vampire hunter. And then it also follows our sweet little Lalo, who has just been turned into a vampire. And he thinks blood's disgusting. He'd rather be reading his book instead of going on an adventure. But he's like, I want to end vampirism so that I cannot have to be a bloodsucker and maybe hurt my sister. So he goes looking for that. Luckily, or unlucky for him, he runs into Carolina. And he's like, oh, she wants to kill me. She's like, I want to kill him. But they both like, oh, no, they're hot. And just shit in shoes. I love this book so much. I was laughing. I was kicking my feet. Like I said, it was so good. The relationship dynamic was chef's kiss. A girl that drives her man insane. I eat that shit up. I love this book. I got to interview Angela Montoya. One of my proudest moments. But it just came. I'm going to be reading this again in January. Rereading it in this month in January because I'm forcing my book. I think I'm like forcing each of the book clubs I'm into reading this. My master plans have been working, but that's really all I gotta say about it. That is my top 10 books of 2024. We are heading into 2025. Q Existential Crisis. Okay, I'm back. We are heading into 2025, and I'm hoping for a lot more good reads. I'm hoping for a lot more sanity. And let me know what you guys read in 2025. What were your standouts? What were your favorites? Did you have any books that you wanted to jump in and fight a character? Because, Fire Goddess, hands on sight. I'm bringing a fire extinguisher, and we are going to fight. But yes, let me know what you guys read, and I will be posting new videos every Friday, as much as I can, all year long. Bye!